So here we are. Interesting. So yesterday we reached a particular shloka which said, hearing this and comprehending it, a mortal, a human being, extracting the essence and reaching the subtle, rejoices, having attained the source of joy. I know that such an abode is wide open into you, Nachiketas. So we discussed that. The joy that they are talking about, the subtle joy in which one rejoices when one reaches the core of one's consciousness. I tried to illustrate it with the Kabir Das's story of the Kasturi Mriga, the musk deer yesterday. So imagine a person who has touched the source of joy, the fountainhead of all joys, which we search for in the outside world here and there, but fail to find it completely. And then turning in, you suddenly discover that the treasure is here in us. No need of investment except your mind and energy. No other investment is required. And you cannot buy it with thousands of dollars. No. One needs to go within and figure this out. So this is where we stopped yesterday. Now, the 14th shloka, Nachiketas asks another question. He says to Yama, tell me, anyatra dharmat, anyatra adharmat, antarasmat kritat, antarya bhutat sabhavyat sayat tat pashyasi tad vada. Tell me, O Yama, that which thou you see beyond right and wrong, beyond what is done or not done, beyond the past and the future. Says, now can you tell me, is there some state, somewhere where there is neither right, because this right or wrong keeps bothering me all the time. Am I doing this right? Am I doing this wrong? And is there something beyond this right or wrong? Beyond what is done and what I think should have been done but was not done. Also beyond the past and the future. Let's start with the last one, the past and the future. Is there something beyond the past and the future? Now if you look at this very carefully, I am basing my discussion on many commentators who have commented on this shloka. As you look into this, what you find is the word past indicates something which is already done and gone. You cannot go back to the past and tinker with it. Can we? What has been done is done. We can do nothing. As far as the future is concerned, you know nothing. I mean, we know nothing, not you, me. The past we know cannot be gone back and tinkered with. It is past, which means it is gone, which means it is not there now. What we have now may be the result of the past, but the past is not here now. We have only the present. At any moment, we have only what is present. Then you say, but I remember, yeah, you remember the past. The past is only there in my memory. Actual fact, it does not exist. Yesterday doesn't exist today. You can say that today is the product of it, that's a different story. But yesterday does not exist today. Today only today exists. Now, future. When I am sitting here now, what is the future? We don't know. We are hoping and expecting, according to a normal formula, that the future will be that after some time the class will wind up and you will go back or I will go back. This is a projected idea based on our past memories of such experiences. Nobody actually knows the future. We can only project the future because the future is not here. So what is it that is here? Now. Only now, the present. But you cannot catch the present because split second movement, the present becomes the past. I am about to think of something, I have thought, it is gone. And then another thought comes up and that is also gone. So it's so difficult to grasp the present. We are always living either in one movement where the present is going into the past or speculating the future. This is our lives. These are all our lives are like that. The Upanishad says that which is the truth cannot be something of the past. It has to be present always. It has nothing to do with the future because we don't know anything about the future. So if something is real, it has to be real now, not in a memory in the past, which is a memory. When you say memory, it cannot be the present. Wait a minute. Now look at this. Then we have to examine the whole theory of knowledge in this case. We did it little bit in the last Upanishad, but we need to examine this theory of knowledge. When I say I have knowledge of something, what does it mean actually? I don't know about this thing in front of me. Beginning. I don't know. Then I say, let me understand this, what this is. Then I study it. Then I think I understand it. Then I say, okay, I am going to study this, I don't know about it. Then I study it. It's a moment in the present when the understanding takes place. What is this? Okay. The moment I have understood it, it's stored in my memory. And when I say I know about this block of wood, it means that I have understood what it is and I have stored it in my memory. At any given moment, I can open the cubby hole of my memory and produce the idea of what it is. This is the meaning of knowing this piece of wood. We are saying that all knowledge is like this. First I don't know, then I learn. The moment of learning is in the present. But the moment I learn, it is gone back to my memory and it is stored in my memory. And when I say I have knowledge of that thing, it means at any given moment I have acquired the skill to open the cubby hole of that memory and say, yeah, this is what it is. So all knowledge, higher knowledge, lower knowledge, this knowledge, that knowledge, all knowledge is memory. That's why if you don't have a memory, you can't study anything. All knowledge is memory. Now from the point of view of the Upanishad, memory, as we all know, is a thing of the past. Do you know of any memory which is present? Memory is always of the past. So the Upanishad says that which is the truth is something which is ever present and cannot be stored in any form in your memory. And therefore all knowledge is not the truth. Now this is too much of a statement, but that's what the Upanishad says. Because all knowledge is past memory. The present can only be the truth, that which is always present. And therefore, the question that Nachiketas asks Yama here, do you know of something which has no past and no future? Is there something like that? Which is always ever present, eternally only present. Do you know that? Now from that the corollary to the first two questions come. When you say doing right or wrong, normally we are judging the action through certain rules which have been made, this is right and that is wrong. from the point of view of the Upanishad, only thing that is right is seeking the truth. Now, seeking the truth can neither be classified as right or wrong, because from other point of views it may appear to be wrong. Suppose I say, I am going to seek the truth, therefore I don't want to do anything else. Everybody will say, you're going on the wrong way. Okay, watch out. So, when you go into the knowledge of the inner being, which is in the present, the question of right or wrong there does not arise. When you say right or wrong, then there are two entities involved. When you touch that, there is no two, there is only one entity. So, who is doing wrong to whom? To what? And who is doing right? There is no doing. There is only being. B-E-I-N-G. Blissfully be. Not B-E-E, but B-E. I said blissfully be, not that be, but you know what I mean. So, being is that truth which the Upanishad is taking you to, therefore, there is no doing. So, there is no question of right or wrong here. Okay. So, what is done and not done? Again, when you say done and not done, it involves the duality of someone doing something. There is a doer and there is something done. Now, from the Upanishadic point of view, there is only the doer, nothing is done. There is no agency involved. There is only the doer. And it is the doer projecting himself in the outside world that thinks he is doing something. Which means the whole world that we see, the duality that we see, is a projection from my mind. When the projector stops, there is no cinema. There is the person who is operating the projector, of course. There is nobody else. And that operator is the truth that the Upanishad is talking about. So, Nachiketas, tell me about that. So, Yama's answer is, actually you might think it's quite away from the topic, but it is very much on the topic. Yama says, that which you are seeking, which is neither in the past nor in the future, which is always present, which is not acquired through doing anything or not doing anything, because it is always there. It's something that cannot be grasped by the five senses, but the five senses cannot be aware of anything without the presence of that, because it is the consciousness which sees, the real seer, through the five senses. Therefore, that thing which you are asking for, O Nachiketas, is sarva vedayat padam amananti tapamshi sarvani cha yad vadanti yad icchanto brahmacharyam charanti tatte padam samgramena bravimi om iti etat. What you are looking for, O Nachiketas, is that sacred mystic syllable Om. That which is neither done, which is neither in the past nor in the future, which is always present. The representative sound of that which you are seeking is none other than Om. How does he describe it? Yama says, Sarve Vedayat Padam Amananti, that word which all the Vedas declare. Tapamshi sarvani chayat vadanti, which all the austerities, all the people who sit down and do tapasya want to find, proclaim. Yad icchanto brahmacharyam charanti, desiring which people live the life of a student, of a religious student, which is a brahmachari. That word, tatte padam, Samgram he na bravimi, I shall tell you in brief. Om iti etad. That is this Om. Now, two words I need to explain in this. One is to find which people lead a life of a brahmachari. So, what is a brahmachari? There is this misunderstanding that brahmachari means one who is unmarried, or one, maybe, I am not saying not, but not only that, or one who is not indulging in any sexual act at all and never get married, then one say Nitya Brahmachari and so on. Now the word Brahmachari in Sanskrit means that Charya means action, activity, movement. Brahma means the supreme truth, Brahman. So Brahmacharya actually means any action or motive or movement towards understanding the truth is Brahmacharya, not only not being married. You can be unmarried for, I know people who decide not to get married because it is inconvenient. But they do indulge in so many things. They are not looking for the truth. You can't call them brahmacharis. You see the difference? So normally we say brahmachari. There is a Hindi movie also called Brahmachari, old movie, who's doing all kinds of mischief. This is not a brahmachari. In fact, I would say even if a person is normally in relationship with someone or is married and still is looking for the truth, he is a brahmachari because he is moving towards the Brahman. Now, why was it that in the olden days young students went to the forest academies and remained single to understand the truth? Why? Because there were no distractions. Imagine you are married, and I am not discouraging you, I am a married man, I have kids, please. You sit down to meditate, and then the wife comes and says, hey, get up now, let's go to the mall. Gone, finished. Your meditation is over. Or you sit late, you say, if you sit late, the light is on, I can't sleep, switch it off. Your brahmacharya, movement towards Brahman is cut off there only. So, in those days, I mean, it could be other way also, wife and husband, it could be. In those days, the students therefore decided to do all their studies before they get entangled in this problem or before they get disturbed. So, all studies were done during that period called Brahmacharya. Now, you must remember that in ancient times, life was divided into 4 parts. Nobody remained a Brahmachari forever. The study period was Brahmacharya period. Then came, according to the Vedic configuration, Grihastha, which means one who has a family. Griha, house, one who has a house. Grihastha. Then, after remaining in the Grihastha stage, now during the Brahmacharya stage, without any disturbance or distraction, you have learnt a lot. You have understood the way to the Brahman. You have decided, okay, there is something like that. Then you go to the Grihastha period. Now in the Grihastha period, one particular thing which you did not handle and were not able to cut out to find the truth happens. There is no better way of cutting your ego than getting married. You say, I know everything, and somebody else says, no, you don't know anything. You say, I am now free of all anger, and actions are made, but your anger also. What better way to understand oneself than having a relationship like that? I am not saying it's compulsory, no. That also is important. Also, the Grihastha was introduced because perhaps the offspring that comes out of one who has studied all this and who is a brahmachari may be someone who may move to the truth even if you couldn't. Genetic studies show that some things are transmitted through the genes. So then, while leading a Grihastha life, the student then, the person then moves towards, in the end of his life, when he has settled everything, he goes to Vanaprastha, which means into the forest. It doesn't mean actually into the forest, it means reduce your responsibilities now that your ego is also nicely rounded, and use the knowledge which you are acquired when you are a brahmachari, and now you have full attention because you have finished your responsibilities, move towards the truth which you were searching but in between got cut. Then when one has found the truth, then he gives up everything and says, I am a sannyasi now. Need not mean he changes his robes. The mind, it's all matter of the mind, the attitude. The same person's attitude may be Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha and Sanyasa. Now, if you really lead a life of discipline during the period of learning, which is called Brahmacharya, or moving towards the truth, then even a married life is not so difficult as you think. It can be handled. You move on with life, nothing sticks. Ramakrishna Paramahamsa used to say that I have applied oil in my hands before opening the jackfruit. You know the jackfruit? It's very sticky. He said, before opening the jackfruit, I have applied enough oil in my hand. So the Brahmacharya period is applying the oil, so that later on in Grihastha, when you open it, it doesn't get really sticky. You move on. I am saying all this to explain this word Brahmacharya. Yama says to Nachiketas, Yad icchanto brahmacharyam charanti. This truth, wishing which, wanting which, people lead the life of Brahmacharya, or lead a life which is oriented towards understanding the truth, Brahmacharya. And then, tatte padam samgrahena pravimi. In briefly, let me tell you that word, it is Om. Now, the question of what Om is. When you say Om, don't consider it as belonging to any particular denomination. Om is a pure sound. In fact, Om is the bridge between ordinary thought and that which is beyond, and it is sound. The first syllable of Om is A. We discussed this during the Mandukya Upanishad. The first sound is A, which represents the waking state. Here I am not discussing the states, I am saying the very sound of A. The very sound of A is the most primary basic sound in the alphabet. A. Even dumb people say A. Little child also says A, even before language words are formed. So A represents the beginning of everything, and it is a clear sound, it is not mixed with anything. Now let us look at why sound is so important. Words, have you ever thought if you can think without a language? Think about it. Give it some thought. Can I think without a language? Some language is involved. Maybe the language I was born into, the family, or what I understood and read, but when I think and formulate, automatically there is some language there. Sometimes many languages, because it depends on what language you learned that particular thing. You cannot think without a language. So the question is there a mind state or is there a thought without a language? Question. if there is a thought without a language, then you have touched the meaning of Om. There is, see, the moment language enters into the picture, it formulates. The question is, can we stay with the mind, with the thought, without formulating anything? Now, it's not easy to do that without words, but it is possible to do that with sound. You hear a beautiful sound or music, not lyrical, without lyrics. Let's say Beethoven. There is no language, right? Or the sound of a flute, without knowing that it is a flute. Let's get that out of the mind. I'm just one full moon night, I'm startled when I go for a walk. There's a sound of music coming from the top of a hill. Of course, because of my knowledge, I say, okay, it must be a flute, somebody's playing. It's beautiful. There is no language there. There is no word. My mind is fully absorbed and is enjoying because it has gone beyond the word. And music also has basic sounds. What is that? It's not a word. Ooh, it's not a word. There's no meaning. When I hum, is that a word? No. But I enjoy it. It's because it's the link between that which is beyond and that. The only thing we have on this earth is sound which can link us to that which is beyond. Suppose I don't know how to sing. Some people are terrible singers, so we don't sing. Then what do? We say, what is that? Is the last word of Om. If somebody asks me, okay, is that right? What do you say normally? In the US it is but here it is Ha is a variation of actually. So, this sound of Om, don't consider it with any meaning. In the Mandukya it was described, the meaning was described. Here we are looking at the pure sound of Om, called Om. So, it's let this is the bridge between that which is seen, not seen actually, that which is heard and that which is unknown. Great music leads you to unknown worlds. We don't know where we are going. Even the singer fully absorbed in it doesn't know where he is going. Is there any word which has any meaning? In when somebody says ah, the first word of Om, stops. So this Nachiket says, Yama says to Nachiketas, don't think that there is nothing in this world which can lead you there. There is one sound which can take you there if you give attention to it, and that is the sound of Om. It need not belong to any denomination, religion. It's pure sound. On this topic, I want to say this. At some point, since you are all going to be scientists, technologists, various things, there is this saying, there is this scientific, so-called scientific statement that sound does not travel in a vacuum. One of you, I want you to find out an experiment where you can actually make sound work in a vacuum. I don't think it is entirely true. Now, And how do we go? Maybe something may happen which may, see, all experiments are done and then only results are found. Just think of an experiment. I'm saying this because you are science people, you are IIT. Find out, see, people won't believe all this Om, this, that, unless something is shown in the lab. We know it is there, but they won't believe it because they're accustomed to putting things in a test tube. And here is something which you cannot grasp or put in a test tube. But still, to advance further scientifically, certain experiments can be tried to show that possibilities are there. Take for example the statement that sound does not work in a vacuum. Once upon a time there was another statement made that the earth was flat. Everybody believed it. Then they figured out that it was not flat, but it is round. Even though there are still people who believe it's flat. What do you do? So here is an experiment. If you are in an experimental mood, have a vacuum made in the lab. Before the vacuum is made, glass, let's say made of glass, one globe which can be made completely free of air. I don't know if something can really be made totally free of air, but the best possible. While it's made itself, inside that insert a small microphone. I'm not right, I'm just, and a small receiver. A small receiver for the sound and a small speaker for the sound to be transmitted inside, built in on both sides. Now I am saying the sound that comes inside through the speaker, little speaker, should be connected outside to a microphone. And inside there should be a microphone receiving that sound that comes also. This microphone is outside. Sit and make the sound, oh, see what is happening. You don't know, try. Who knows, maybe the globe will go up without making noise. Then you have invented a new helicopter without engines. I don't know. Just looking at the effect of sound. I'm just giving you, it's what you call fuzzy logic. See, ideas which unless we experiment we cannot prove and therefore cannot disprove. So, having said all this, the sound of Om, when either pronounced or heard, has the effect of cooling and calming your mind and taking it to the source. Is of course a common sound we hear. U is a modification of that in its depth, and Ma is the ending of the sound, like the gong. Once you hit, dum, it goes on. Actually, we don't know where it ends, but beyond a certain point, our ears cannot pick up because they don't have the capacity to pick up that frequency. Maybe sound is once made is always existing. We have lost it. This is the sound of Om. Now look at the last syllable Ma. Even when you hum something, or when you are tired and when you sit down and do that sound of Ma has a healing effect built into it. If you go to a hospital where people are convalescing, pain, the most common sound you will hear is what? Because the brain knows that this sound is soothing and healing. So here is another experiment. Somebody is really ill and convalescing. put the headphone and chant a beautiful Om and let them hear it. Who knows what will happen? Don't bring in this any picture of Christian, Muslim, Hindu and all that. Sound. Om. So, that word which all the Vedas declare, which all the austerities proclaim, desiring which people live the life of a student, that word to thee I shall tell, and that is Om. Second, this syllable is verily the everlasting spirit. This syllable indeed is the highest end. Knowing this very syllable, whatever anyone desires will indeed be his or hers. I am adding hers. Etadhi evaksharam brahma. This is the everlasting Brahman. Etadhi evaksharam param. This is the everlasting spirit, this syllable. Etadhi evaksharam jnatva. Indeed, this is the highest knowledge possible. Jnatva yoyad icchati tasya tat. He who knows this syllable and its effect, I am adding, on the human mind, indeed will achieve all that he or she desires. Why? Because this sound takes one to the source of all energy. This energy can be tapped for any purpose. But the student who is searching for the truth only wants to find the truth, so he will tap it only for that. But this energy can also be tapped for other purposes, because this sound Om takes you to the root of all energy, which is the inner self. So perhaps we are on the verge of discovering something more powerful than nuclear energy. Who knows? Think. Maybe. Maybe if we have powerful enough sound systems which keep putting out Om in a very high frequency, I know that in a certain frequency Om can crack a bottle, but it can even go beyond. So therefore this Om, says Yama to Nachiketa, is the highest. Etat alambanam sreshtam, etat alambanam param, etat alambanam jnatva brahmaloke mahiyate. This Om is the support and the best of all. This support is the highest. Knowing this support, one becomes great in the world of the Brahman. Now the rest, the eternal self, Shloka 18, has to be studied by itself. Let me quote and then we will study it in the next session. Na jayate mriyate va vipaschinayam kutaschinna babhuva kaschit ajo nitya shashvatoyam purano na hanyate hanyamane sharire. The knowing self, which is the inner consciousness, which says I, O Nachiketas, is never born. When something is not born, then there is no question of death. When anything is born, then it has to die. And Nachiketas, mind you, is seeking immortality. So Yama is telling Nachiketas, the knowing self is never born, nor does it die therefore at any time. It sprang from nothing, and therefore nothing springs from it. It is unborn, eternal, abiding and primeval, means from the beginning of time. It is not slain when the body is slain. Na hanyate hanyamane sharire. When the body is killed or died or slain, that self consciousness does not die, it remains. This is also, this last part of the sentence is also repeated in the Gita. Na hanyate hanyamane sharire. It is not slain when the body is slain. So we will stop with that today if you don't mind. We will keep the question answer session for the next session, and I promise that we can make it longer in the next session. It is the last one, I think, on this, in this particular, but we will spend little more time if you have time next time, so that we don't go back hungry for not having answered questions, which is good only. We should ask questions. Thank you very much. Namaskar. Good evening.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.